Hey everybody. So the purpose of this video is first and foremost to give you a very clear understanding of what LLMs and what is available for LLMs for open source commercial use specifically. And then we'll dive into some of these models and talk about them a little bit since I'm familiar with most of them. But off the top, I've searched through a lot of lists that outline and they list out different open source LLM models, and all of the different lists that I find, they list LLM models that are open source but that aren't available for any sort of commercial use. So for example, any sort of llama model or alpaca, or even you run into, there's Vicuna is questionable. There's issues, licensing issues around those models, and potential licensing issues around those models. So even though they're open source, lots of people talk about llama, you don't want to install llama for commercial use whatsoever. Like it's a licensing nightmare. And then so this list that I found on this GitHub list is the most updated that I've seen, and most frequently updated, and most up-to-date list, and most accurate list as far as purely commercially available licensed LLM models. And then so first thing to note is that you can see up until March of 2023 is when like everything broke open here, but before then it was flan, and that was it for 3 years. Almost 4 years, just flan. And then so that was what people were playing around with, and so any sort of like chat bots, things like that, like all of the AI chat bots, especially all of the hype from anything during this period, it was all based off of this singular technology, flan. And then so as you can see, anything March 2023 or later is there's a huge difference. I don't know exactly what made March and April the impetus for all of this, because it is coincidental that Llama also came out in March as well, but these models were worked on like long before the Llama leak in March. So I don't, it's not like, I don't think it's, they coordinated or anything. It's just that it, for whatever reason, for 3 years, 4 years, there was like nothing, and all of a sudden it's just all of this. But so we'll dive into it. So first one that came out in March is Cerberus model. Good thing about that is it's really scalable, can go really small, and then up to 13 billion parameters. And then so just to give some sort of overview as far as parameters and what you should be looking for there, and what you can expect. Anything 7 billion parameters or lower, so if it's a 7 or lower, like whole number 7, then you can run it on a personal computer. These really small ones, and there's one that we'll get into that's actually like literally designed to run on your cell phone. But so 7 billion parameters, you can run it on a good computer, on a computer with a good graphics card. 13 billion, you could run on a good corporate server if you wanted to, but generally speaking, 13 billion, and then especially anything over 13 billion, then you're going to be running it on cloud-based hardware, most likely, and then it's going to be multiple servers, most likely, if you're going above 13 billion. So first of all, it's Cerberus, and then it's a lot of these are under the Apache license. Most of these are in either Apache or MIT license, which is amazing and fantastic. But so after that, it's really cool. It's it can help you with coding, and then it can also perform tasks as well. So all of those like task-based LLMs and things like that, a lot of them are based off of Open Assistant, and so the Pythia family. And then so Open Assistant itself is a 12 billion parameter model, and then I don't think you can install it locally. I've never tried to install it locally, but it's a cool model to run. And then beyond that, they also have their scalable models that they have. And then with the Dolly models, they're scalable. So 3 billion, 7 billion, and then 12 billion parameters. So if you go with the 3 billion or the 7 billion, then you can run those on your individual computer, no problem. Delight, Delight is the one that it's extremely lightweight. So you can run Delight on literally anything. That's what they make it for, is to literally like run on a cell phone. So it's really cool. RWKV, I'm pretty sure that's the Raven models. Yeah, RNN technology, so it's based off of the Raven models. I haven't used the Raven models a lot, so I can't say a lot there. GPTJ and GPT for all are they're based off of the ChatGPT 3 architecture, and then so pretty good open source models, and then they just both released under the Apache 2.0. Those are really cool models to check into. GPT Neo X is a 20 billion parameter model, and then it's like GPT Neo X gets outclassed by smaller models. It's an older model, but GPT Neo X is really good for training other models. That's like what a lot of the use cases are for GPT Neo X that I see a lot of people using it. Put and a lot of investment into Bloom, and then I think there's a lot of capabilities and scalability for Bloom, especially for anything dealing with like sciences and the academic realm. Bloom is a fantastic model for those things. I think a lot more so than business, but Bloom is a fantastic model overall. It's huge. Stable LM. It's Stability AIs. Good thing about that is it's really scalable up to 65 billion parameters. So gives you a lot of flexibility there. Fast chat, it's just a 3 billion parameter chatbot. So like anything like with chat services or anything like that. H2O GPT, I haven't used it. There's 12 to 20 parameter models, and then they also run it on different backend architectures as well. I'm curious about H2O GPT. It just came out maybe a few weeks ago. I haven't played around with it, but I'm really curious about that particular model. The MPT 7Bs are just released under the Apache license recently. And then it's while it says May, they're older models, and then 7 billion parameters, and then Red Pajama and Open Llama. So Open Llama is first, and then Red Pajama is based off of Open Llama. And then so as I talked about in the beginning of this video, you can't use and you shouldn't use Llama for any sort of commercial use because of the licensing around it. And then so Open Llama is to solve that problem, and then essentially it is built off of that framework. And then Red Pajama, I'm pretty sure, is Alpaca, essentially like a rebuild of Alpaca trained, and it's either Alpaca trained or it's Llama, and it's fine tuned. So if you're looking for a Llama variant that is commercially viable, Red Pajama I think is what would be my recommendation for what's best and that's commercially available. And then the Falcon 40B and the 7B parameter were just released on the Apache 2.0 license. They just updated the license recently for those to make them fully Apache 2.0. So that's cool and fully available, although the paper's still been coming. And then as far as going down on the list here, this is open LLMs for coding, and then the specific thing that you'll notice here is that you'll notice a lot of license changes to the Open Rail. And then the cool thing about this, and again I'll link it to the description, or I'll link it in the description to the video, but it gives you everything that you need. So what are the license types? So we're looking at these two here, essentially the CC and OpenRail. So CC allows for copying and redistribution of materials, but you must distribute your contributions under the same license as the original. And then OpenRail, it allows them to put any sort of restrictions that they want on the licenses. So if you see that OpenRail license, you really want to look at the individual licenses. So like, for example, Santa Coder, you're going to take a look. Essentially any of these top three, take a look at the individual licenses, which includes StarCoder, before using it. Although I can tell you I've looked at the OpenRail license for StarCoder, and it's pretty straightforward. You can use StarCoder, and then so out of the three on this list, it's the one that I have the most familiarity with. It's a cool tool. I use it all the time. But then other than that, you do have other options, and then you also have Apache. You do have one Apache option at the moment, which is CodeGen 2. I don't have a lot of familiarity with it, but it goes up to 16 billion parameters, which is cool, which is at the high end of these lists. I think 16 to 13 billion parameter models seem to be really adequate for coding purposes. And then so this I want to highlight because this is really cool. So if you need data to train your model, you have essentially access to the Red Pajama data set, which is amazing and awesome and beautiful. And then so the Red Pajama data set is a reconstruction that essentially frees the licensing of the Llama training set. So don't use the Llama training set, use the Red Pajama training set. And then also StarCoder, while StarCoder is released under the OpenRail license, the beautiful thing is that they release the data set and the training for StarCoder. So if you need to train a data model, if you want to train your own model on how to code, you can utilize the StarCoder data set. And it's completely free and released open source, fully Apache 2.0. And then just going down, so if you want to fine-tune your own model, then you also have a few different options. Again, only one Apache 2.0 option, but these licenses aren't restrictive. So you have options here for fine-tuning model as well. And then this is essentially like the huge data set that you probably want to use. And then this is for if you want to further refine, and so Open Assistant is really wide open as far as the licensing and what they gave out. So if you Open Assistant, I use it all the time. I'm not promoted by them or anything. I would plug it a lot. I think it's a cool tool. And then at the bottom, you just have what licenses are available. So if it's not on this list, again, I'll link it in the description. Don't utilize it. It's if it's an open source model. So your other option is that you can pay for the ChatGPT subscription, and then keep that in mind, and I'll highlight and end with that very specifically, that if you're utilizing ChatGPT for business, it is within the licensing that you have to pay. You want the paid version of their plan, not the free version, or else it's not like you're not commercially technically legitimate under their current licensing agreement. If you like this kind of content, please like and subscribe. Thank you guys.